The month is over and everything's been reconciled, so that means it's time for me to share our May 2022 budget report. You're going to want to stick around to see how all of that went. Hi friends, and welcome to the Budget Bounce. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen, and we talk all about living life on a budget, saving for our future, and paying down debt on this channel. If those are things that interest you, then you are going to want to be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and make sure you tap the bell so you'll get notified every time we post a new video. So today we're going to be talking about our May 2022 budget report, and this is going to be a report of our actual numbers, what really happened in the month after, we had our budget set up for May. So we're going to compare and see how we did. So let's just go ahead and jump on over to the spreadsheet and have a look. All right, so here you can see our budget template that we use every single month. We have the first few columns that I go through when I'm setting up the budget that shows the category, the line item description within that category, and how much is budgeted. And what we're going to focus on today is everything to the right of what's budgeted. So we're going to talk about the actuals and then what our over/under was as we move throughout this. So let's start with our income. And you'll see here that income starts over here, and then some of it populates over here, and the rest of it we have to enter. So anything that's blacked out is our regular salaries that comes from our full-time jobs. We have some rental income that we show here, and then anything that gets added throughout the month. The sinking funds, emergency fund are always here, and anything else gets added if we have additional income through the month. We don't mind, as far as salaries go, we don't mind sharing totals of what comes in for the month, but we just choose not to share the details of each of our paychecks. So first of all, rental income came in at $995, which is higher than what we anticipated. And so we are over by $395 there. Sinking funds, we ended up using $1,051, which was $870 more. We didn't use the emergency fund at all. The tax refund that came in was $280, which was under by $272. Henry gave us $60 for his tax filing, and then Amazon rewards, I ended up pulling those in to pay for our annual Prime renewal at $136, and it was a $140 expense. Insurance reimbursement was unexpected, and that came in at $90, bringing our total income to $12,704. So that's what we had to work with in actuality, as opposed to the original plan of $11,533, which you can see is several hundred more than what we planned. In giving, we ended up doing 50 instead of 130, and that's because some things that we planned on doing, some birthdays in May, we didn't actually end up doing the gifts for those until early June. So those will show up in June. In housing, we came in pretty much right on track. We had $2,725 for the mortgage, $261 for the monthly utilities for gas and electric here. Our quarterly utilities for the city came out, and that was $180. And then internet was $122 and mobile services $153, bringing our total to $3,443, which you can see was right where we planned to land. All right, in transportation, we had $281 for gas, $24 for OnStar, and nothing else, bringing our total to $306, which was under by $18. In food, we had $1,101 for groceries and $248 for dining, bringing our total to $1,349, which is $449 over budget, but you will see that we spent, of this $1,100, $500 of it was for April expenses that we paid in May. So this was me trying to get that credit card cleaned up for the most recent. I wanted to get all of the most recent charges paid before we moved it down to the debt section, and I'll show that to you when we get there. So we really only spent $601 on groceries in May, which is fantastic. It's the first time in a very long time we've come in under budget, and I don't have any excuses for dining. We just ate out a lot, and so our total, again, we were over by $449, but this is still an accomplishment because we stayed under for the month. And then for kiddos, we didn't have anything that came up for them, so no expenses there. In pets, we had $107 for food, $37 for grooming. We ended up having to buy food for both animals during the month in May. And then for grooming, we had to do a little something. We had to have Uther's ears cleaned out. So normally he just gets his teeth cleaned and his nails trimmed, excuse me, but he needed to have his ear cleaned out. He had an ear infection that he got in April, so we were trying to keep ahead of that. And then other supplies were $72, bringing the total to $217, which is $57 over budget. In insurance, we came in right where we planned, exactly to the penny. So $35 for accident. We didn't have auto insurance in May. That's every 6 months, and that's actually going to be paid in June. Critical illness is $74. Dental is $23. Hospital indemnity is $40. Identity theft is $12. Legal is $15. Life insurance $92. MAT union dues is $60 because I don't know where else to put them. Medical is $467. Pet insurance is $54, and short-term disability is $62. That brings the total to $939. In entertainment, we had $35 for streaming, $4 for HP Inc., $10 for Cinemark, and $19 for family entertainment, bringing the total to $70, which was $25 over what we planned. In health, we had $514 go to our flexible spending accounts, $33 to the gym, and $252 to healthcare, bringing the total to $799, which is $152 over. And you'll see that, it's all in this healthcare line. There were medical bills that came up that neither FSA could cover. Yeah, that's how that happened. In extras, we had a lot going on during the month. So let's start with, we had Instacart renewal for $99. Our wedding anniversary was in May, and we spent $73 on our wedding anniversary. New air conditioning unit. So this is, our house has no central air, and so there's no ductwork in it. Our house was built in 1916. And it has no ductwork in it anywhere. It's on a boiler system. And so for cooling, you have to use window units instead of central air. We had one that came with the house for our first summer, and it was very inefficient, very loud, and it did not do a great job of cooling. And it's so huge. It is such a huge monstrosity that Matt said, if I move it again, we're moving it out. Like, we're getting rid of it. So we really needed to replace it. It did not do a good job, and I think it probably took a toll on our utility bill. So we bought a new one. It's smaller, it's more efficient, it's quieter, and overall it's working out a lot better. So $271 for that. Google Life 360, another subscription that renewed, that's $75. Yard and Garden, we spent $89. And then Amazon Prime renewal, I mentioned that I pulled in $136 in rewards. Here is that charge. So the total was $748. And you see, we didn't plan on any of these. The good news is, for almost all of this, we have sinking funds. The only line item that I didn't have a sinking fund for was the Yard and Garden. Everything else, we pulled it in from sinking funds, and that's one of the reasons why that ended up being so much higher than what we planned. But that is exactly why we have sinking funds, is so we have the money there when we need it. Next up is miscellaneous. We had personal spending at $145. Matt and I were on fire in May and went way over by $85. Household, we spent $461, which was $311 over, and miscellaneous $617, which was $467 over. Now, that brings our total to $1,224, which is $864 over. This is definitely, along with food, those are two categories that we really, really struggle with. And this really shows the spending spiral. But I do want to, I made a note here that of this, between these two lines, 322 of that was spent on April charges. So that takes us down to like 540 that we were over in the month of May. Again, cleaning up things from April so that we can finalize and move that, stop using that card and move it to the debt section. Next up is savings. So we did nothing to the emergency fund. We did 57 to investments, 100 to college savings, and 608 to retirement, bringing the total to 766. And you can see that's under what we planned. Now, if you go over here, you can see what our balance was at the end of the month. So we have $4,651 in our emergency fund, and so that's a total, sorry. And these next three rows are the total that we've done so far for the year. These are not the balances in these accounts. I like to see how much did we do in investments throughout the year or to our retirement, right? So 283 is what we've done total in investments this year, 425 to college savings, and 2,836 to our retirement plans. And this number does not include the employer match that I get. This is just our contributions that we put into it. Next up is our sinking funds, and you can see we have a lot of them, and there's a reason for that. If you go back to the extras section and envision all those different things that were happening that month, that is exactly why we want sinking funds. So we are both spenders, and I have to have a way to make sure that we have the money we need when we need it, because if it's in our checking account, we are going to spend it. That is the way that we operate. It doesn't mean that that's how we should operate. It's a psychological thing. We have to move it out of there and have it somewhere else, and we'll pull it in when we need it. So let's just run down through here what we planned versus what we did. So we planned on $160 to auto insurance, but we ended up not needing it, so I didn't put anything in auto insurance. Auto registrations was $20, nothing to Bugs account, $15 to business travel, $150 to city utilities, $35 to clothing, $15 to entertainment, nothing to estate planning, $50 to gifts, $50 to healthcare, nothing for Henry's account, nothing to holidays, nothing to home maintenance, $30 to image cosmetics, $81 to life insurance, nothing to this moved for debt payoff. That's like if we want to save up for a lump sum payoff. That's what that line item's for. And then nothing to online subscriptions since we spent it all, and then some, $100 to pet expense, and then nothing in technology, vacation, vehicles, wedding anniversary, or Xanthi, bringing our total to $546, which was way under what we planned. And that was so we could get some of those things caught up that we had, some of those expenses from April that I was trying to get paid down. So let's go over here and look at what we spent, like what we actually pulled out of our sinking funds for the month. And 1,051 was one of the line items in our income up top. So this is what that's comprised of. We pulled 381 out of the city utilities bucket. We pulled 150 out for gifts. We pulled 271 out for home maintenance. We pulled 175 out for online subscriptions, and we pulled 74 out for our wedding anniversary. And I'll just run down here really quick. You can see we have all different various balances here. This one, auto insurance, is really big because it's due in June. So this will actually be paid on June 15th, and it was $1,023 and change. So I didn't need to put anything in for that month, so I didn't. So in June, most of that is going to almost go to zero. And you can see here, again, varying balances for, the different things. The biggest one is for our vacation fund, but our totals here, total sinking funds, is $8,889. That's what we have in sinking funds, plus the emergency fund, which... All right, next up is our debt section, and we have so many debts that we literally have to have it broken down into subsections just so it's easier to keep track of. So we have our paid off section, and that includes 26 debts that have been paid off in full 100%. We don't have to deal with them anymore, and that total comes to $56,854. The other thing you'll see here is pink and black font, and what that means is pink is anything that had my name on it, black is anything that only had Matt's name on it. So that is, we have a mixture of what's been paid off over the years. And so when you go to the next section, we have charged off, we're in collections really, $5,476, and this is several credit cards. They're old credit cards of Matt. And the reason why we did this was because Matt wanted me to treat the debts that were in his name differently than the debts that had my name on them. He wanted us to focus on those with my name at the beginning, and that has remained a constant through our journey. So yeah, $5,476 in charged off. But the most interesting part is our actively paying down here. And so this is where it shows exactly what we are paying on. So our total actively paying, the balances are $157,237 at the end of May. So what does that look like? So child support, we paid $456 and we have a $739 balance. This credit card, we paid $90, there's $891 balance. This credit card, we paid $80, there's a $1,389 balance. $91 to this child support with $2,268 remaining. Nothing to this one, and I think it's because, that they may have, like this place, it's one that was in collections. This place may have been sold or something because it didn't come out. It's been coming out for 3 years. So I don't know why this stopped, but I think I may have a piece of mail that might be about this. So I need to dive into that and get that figured out. This is a private student loan. We paid $50 and the balance is $4,895. This is our car payment, $550 and then we have $8,934 remaining. We paid $205 to our HELOC with $13,629 remaining. $400 to this credit card. We have $14,329 remaining. Nothing to our graduate student loans. $300 to the family loan, which brought us to $39,000, and then nothing to the undergrad student loans, and that total is $51,631. So our total debt payments were $2,224. You can see here where we started at $164,579 at the beginning of the month. After all the payments were applied and taking into account the interest, then we have a $162,714 balance remaining on our debts. Let's take a look at totals here so you can see. So over here on the left, we talk, when I set up the budget, I talked about we want our expenses and our income to be as close to zero as possible. And we also try to be intentional with that in the actuals. Our expenses were $12,685 and our total income was $12,704 with a difference of $19. So we had a little bit left over that we didn't spend, and that's okay. I just leave that sitting in the checking account. Over here on the right though, I did some things a little bit differently. I decided to update this after I did our 2022 debt update. I did it a few weeks ago, and I wanted to accurately call out what was going on. So our original debt balance back when we started this whole thing in 2018 was $255,493. That's where we started. The new non-mortgage debt that was added on after I came up with that total is $43,217. Now, some of that, a small part of that, is from debts that I knew that were out there, but I hadn't gotten my arms around them yet. I didn't know the totals. And like we had, I think 4 or 5 debts added after the initial, I think we had 37 or 38 when we started. We added 4 or 5 more that were things that I just didn't have time to get ready for when we were getting started. So some of it is that, and some of it is these, like the student loans is new, and some other things. So we have a total of $43,217. One of the other things that's contributing to that is this credit card, which I just racked up again. I mean, I'm not saying Matt didn't have anything to do with it, but it absolutely, my state of mind is why this happened. And I have talked fairly openly here about my struggles with mental health. I've had them for many, many years, but they really became exacerbated in 2017 when Matt got really sick himself. And it was a really scary time because he was really sick and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And our finances were in the toilet before he got sick, and then he didn't have an income, and then it just got even worse. And we were facing financial ruin when we finally started this about 6 months after he stopped working. I was like, there's one thing I can get control of, and it's our finances. And that's how we started living life on a budget again, which I had been doing several years before and stopped. So now that was 2017, and we have been through a lot since then. We did a lot of things correctly, but the pandemic absolutely, just like everyone else, all my mental health issues came to the forefront again. My family did have COVID. My parents had it. I had to go take care of them. I got it. My dad was hospitalized. I was hospitalized. There was a lot. I had complications afterwards. I ended up back in the hospital again. I had blood clots. I mean, I was months coming back from that. And in the middle of that, we bought a house. That was absolutely an emotional purchase. We bought a house. We ended up not selling our other house. And I'm not saying that is a mistake, because actually I stand behind our decision to do that, but these are all things that were happening that have impacted our finances. And a lot of things. I just got to the point, I have a video where I talk about budget and work burnout from a few weeks ago that I'm to the point that I'm too tired to care. I am exhausted from everything that's going on, and I stopped doing YouTube because something had to give. I was mentally and physically exhausted. Things were not going well at work, and something had to give. So I stopped posting for several months. And so that happened. And then during that time was my spending spiral had already started, but it really ramped up during that time. And then I came out the other side with this debt, and I was like, I can't believe, what have I done? What did I just do? I still am struggling with caring about it. I still want to just spend. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't have this problem until about a year ago, where I really am struggling with that filter and, that willpower to not do it. So anyway, that's a little bit of background about where that came from. And that is part of this $43,217 for sure. So when you add these two numbers together, then that puts us at $298,711. That is our total non-mortgage debt, $298,711. Now, in the month of May, we killed off $1,864. And by that, what I mean is the difference between where we started and where we ended, right? That takes into account all the payments that we made plus the interest that was accrued. So we paid down $1,864, and then the total paid to date is $135,996. Now, another thing that I do is I keep track of the percent of total non-mortgage debt that we paid off. How much did we pay off, this month, and what is the total? So we paid 44.6% of our income toward debt this month, and that is focused solely on our salaries, okay? Just our salaries. And then 45.5% is the progress that we've made towards our total debt. So slowly but surely, we're making it to the halfway point here. It doesn't help that we had to add $14,000 of debt here. That is our month of May in a big old nutshell. This is a really big nutshell. We did not do great in some places, and in other places, we actually did better than we have in a long time. And that is the way that it goes of budgeting. It's, you have good months, you have bad months. The bottom line is you need to end up, if you take 3 steps forward, but you end up taking 2 steps back, you still ended up ahead of where you started. And we have not been doing a good job of that over the last few months. We've barely been holding our position, if you will, and really have fallen behind. When you look at the fact that we had to add $14,000 in debt, that is not something that anyone ever wants to have to do. I don't even have a good reason for it. It's not like I didn't have to replace a roof or have some big expense that couldn't be avoided. This is not what you want to be doing. But it's going to happen here and there. The important thing is to catch yourself in your spiral. And I am trying to work through that with my husband and with my therapist and that kind of thing. And it's still very, very difficult. And so I'm not going to lie, you guys, I'm still spending. Not as bad as I was, but it's really hard. And it's hard to snap out of the, I don't care. I just don't give a flip about it. And that's reality. I mean, that is real life for you right there. It's not always easy and constantly plowing forward when you're trying to get out of a huge hole of debt. So that's our May. I will stop talking so you guys can go. But in the meantime, if you have anything you want to share, any wins, any struggles you're having that maybe the community can help with, please leave them in the comments. And also know, if you like this budget template, you can purchase this anytime in Excel form or in Google Sheets. This is Google Sheets that I use now. I have them both out in my Etsy shop, and I always leave that link in the description box below. So that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you next time.